This is The Focus Group
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
with Tim Bennett
Fuck her up, Buttercup.
and John Nash.
We never give up.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Who knew business talk could be so much fun?
Hey, I hope you're all feeling blessed today. John, I really like what you've been doing and how things have been going and how we really have put together a really nice show.
I'm waiting for a shoe to drop.
No, you're not getting it. It's the whole affirmation, the weird Trump meeting. Don't you remember the weird affirmation? Where it looked like something
I'm
that
so
Kim
happy I'm on the
Jong-il.
cabinet and that I have my pad of paper and a pen that says Trump on it. Yeah, that was the eeriest.
Serious thing. So, hey, it's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. We are all business except when we're not. Be sure to find out about us all week long. If you go to focusgroupradio.com, there's multiple platforms you can choose from, whether you want to do audio or video to watch us. We repost the show again on Saturdays with the audio version as well as the edited video version. But you can watch us live if you are doing so. Thank you right now on Facebook Live and also our YouTube channel, which is also branded Focus Group Radio. We have a fun show today, as always. We think we've got our Caught My Eye Shop Talk is going to talk about some additional colors to the rainbow flag.
Only in your city, right?
Well, they want to make it worldwide.
Okay, but for now, it's only in.
And then we have who's our guest today, John?
We have Brook Altman, who's the founder and creator of Prowdr. And as if
Proud.
Proudder, but it's
Right.
PROWDR.com, Prowdr.com. A digital platform exclusively dedicated to providing extraordinary content written by sophisticated LGBTQ tastemakers and allies for the community.
There you go.
I think we'll be on there, actually.
Another pride spectacular.
Pride, the
So,
pride leprechaun.
so not to before we get into some of our other stuff, but I did laugh about that Trump affirmation thing. It reminded me, and I used to tell you about this, of my days at Subaru, where we would be sent over to the motherland, over to Japan.
For your grades.
We had to sit over there with Happy Talk and jerk off the empire or the emperor, both of them, and tell them how lovely everything was and how wonderful the cars were and how everything was just beautiful. And you weren't allowed to be critical of anything. You weren't allowed to question anything. You all just sit there and kiss the ring and do the bow and then be sent back on your way. And they'd bring all the distributors in from around the world, and we would sit there. And the only people that could say something were the independent distributors that weren't beholden to the parent company.
Independent distributors.
So they could say stuff because they didn't care. They were a little more. We were owned by
Got it.
Subaru, the corporation. So we had to toe the line, and everything's wonderful. Everything's happy. Everything's great.
Yeah, Bob came home from work and he goes, turn the TV on, turn the TV. I mean, it was just like, I thought something had happened, like really bad. He goes, you got to turn the TV on right now. So I turn it on and they were running the clip
Right.
of everybody going around the room. Mr. President, it is a pleasure to serve in your cabinet. and it was almost as if everybody had drank Kool-Aid.
That was crazy.
Frankly, had they drank Kool-Aid, I was hoping it was spiked with grain because a couple minutes into that meeting, there would have been a little more happy talk. But
And then, of course, the happiest man on the planet today is Attorney General Sessions because the unfortunate shooting that happened at the baseball diamond outside of Alexandria with the people from the Republican part of the Congress who were practicing baseball. The president just announced a couple of minutes ago that the shooter is dead. He, 66-year-old guy from Illinois. But they announced that he has died. But fortunately, the police and the congressperson Scalise, is that how you say it?
I always say Scalise.
They're in stable condition. They think they'll be fine.
That was a Capitol police officer
John and I both discussed that we thought hopefully this might wake up some people to the importance of outlawing assault weapons, which are not needed.
You know, well, and when this was live on CBS This Morning and Morning Joe, as the events unfolded, at one point, it might have been Senator Rand Paul. Is it Paul Rand or Rand? It's Rand Paul. He said he heard 40 or 50 or almost 60 shots. And then someone else on the panel came in and basically said he's talking about an assault rifle.
Yeah.
And the guy used to be in the infantry, or he was a former military officer who said this is the exact weapon we had. Yeah. Except the version this guy would have had had some kind of a device that didn't allow for continuous firing, but it could get off 50 or 60. And look, it's a horrible thing, and I'd want to use a conjunction and say but I do want to say a weapon like that has no place.
No place for it. Hunters don't use it.
Hunters do not use it. No.
It's a killing weapon for the battlefield.
Well, period. End of report. Yeah.
I don't drive a tank around because I can't.
Although, with the way you complain about texting and driving, you should be
drive
driving a tank.
I wish I had an
Or
old
at least
snowplow.
a Humvee.
To hit people.
You want
I'd
a
like to hit
snowplow?
people- To hit people. Like if I had an old junky snowplow, sorry, just ram into somebody stupid. Get me going on that. So what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
Normally, I don't. You and I we don't do a lot of celebrity stuff because that's a little pop culture. But this year has seen a lot of good character actors pass away. And even not like Adam West just passed away. The guy that
I thought he died already.
that's the other danger is the website Are They Dead? Like you have to make sure they're alive.
Is Robin still alive? Yeah.
The guy that played Boy Wonder is indeed alive.
What was his
yes.
name? I don't remember.
I forget. But shortly after
Burt Ward.
There's the boys in the band.
Yeah, we have Garrett on audio. We have John. There are associate producers. John's doing video. Garrett's doing audio.
Burt Ward?
Burt Ward, yeah. And I think it's a B-U-R-T. Burt
Nice
Ward.
tights on Burt, right? Little green ones or something.
The original Batman was one of my more favorite TV shows because of how campy it was, right?
Well, it was
I mean, the
over the
pow,
top.
sock, So a day or two after the Batman passed away, I read the headline, and it shocked me that actress Glen Headly had passed away. Now, I particularly like her a great deal, and she died at 62.
I don't know her.
All right. Well, Glen
I
Headly.
probably know her work.
Glen Headly
Is she
won
character actress?
Well, she won. Yeah, she's character actress. She won an Emmy for her 1989 miniseries Lonesome Dove. She played the role of Dr. Abby Keaton on NBC's ER. She's been on this TV series Monk. But I knew her
62, she's young.
exactly, and she's left behind her husband and her son. So I thought 62 is a shockingly young age, and they didn't announce the cause of death, which. Probably it will come out, and I don't even want to guess what it is, but it's a tragic thing, but loved by a lot of people, including Steve Martin, and for one big reason. All right, so we put up some pictures. I first noticed her in the movie Dick Tracy. She played Warren Beatty. She played Dick Tracy's girlfriend, Tess Trueheart, and that was the Madonna vehicle. Remember, Madonna was in. But the movie that I fell in love with her as a comedic actress was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. And in this picture we have here, she actually is a con artist like Steve Martin and Michael Caine, but people don't know it at the very beginning of the movie. And she plays like she's some soap heiress, like the Ivory soap
Is this the
heiress.
80s?
Yeah, this is dirty. Yeah. Could you tell by the clothing?
Outfit. Very dynasty-like.
And then she also recently played in an incredible limited series on HBO called The Night Of, and that's her there, and that was very recent. So that was the first thing that caught my eye. I was sad to see her go because
Did they say what the cause of death was?
no, they did not. No cause of death was given. But Steve Martin was quick to comment and to give his condolences. She was literally filming a show on Hulu called Future Man with Josh Hutcherson, who was in the Hunger Games, Ed Begley Jr., you remember from St. Elsewhere. So I just think that these things are odd. And she's like a working actress. I mean, she was in all these great little roles. She really she brought something to the table, anyway. All right, and she's survived by her husband, Byron McCullough, and son, Sterling. What a great name for a...
Sterling.
Stirling, Sterling.
Sterling Head.
So the other thing that caught my eye is a little tweet that... does anybody remember Abercrombie and Fitch?
They used to sell croquet sets, didn't they, in fishing line?
They used to sell
Wingback
outdoor
chairs.
camping gear. Then they started selling sex, and that went pretty well for them for a
for a
while.
little
And then
while.
it kind of hit the wall.
Like J. Crew fell off the
J.
track.
Crew. So Abercrombie is a sponsor this year, or a partner of the Trevor Project, the gay hotline.
Yeah.
And it's a suicide prevention hotline for young LGBTQ people. And they sent out, and they did a line of clothing, and the clothing says like the word love in multicolors. So, and proceeds from the sale of that clothing line goes towards
Money for the Trevor Project.
So they sent out a tweet, and the tweet did not go well. So let's, so John, throw that up there. Yeah, the Pride community is everybody, not just LGBTQ people.
Who sent that out?
Well, it's Kayla, who's a merchandiser. I don't know what that means. I don't know what Kayla's up to.
Kayla, is that her with the hat on backwards?
And I cut her off, but she's got a picture there's a little of the love thing. So immediately people were, and I put a little Abercrombie, one of the photos that adorned the shopping bags.
Right.
Some guy, naked, taking a shower outside. I mean, they were selling. You remember people would walk around Fifth Avenue with these bags? You'd be like, oh my God, it's a naked guy. So Twitter went crazy, and in fact, it was not retweeted, but it was flagged and removed eventually. And Abercrombie put up something different. But one person said, "Pride." Let me read in my notes here because I can't read that on the screen. The Pride community, that's what they said, first of all. The Pride community is everybody. The tweet garnered a few retweets. It was a horrible post. And then they came back and said, Pride is about being proud of being LGBTQ. That's why it's called Pride. If you respect us, don't co-opt that, especially for profit. So, this to me, it caught my eye because you and I talk about this a great deal. Companies tread into these areas at their own risk. If you and I were sitting around and someone said, hey, we want to send a tweet out, look, we're going to run it by you. What do you think? I'd be like, wish everybody a happy Pride, but don't make it about something else, right?
And do it not just in June. You can do it in June, but have a consistent message. You and I are very definitive about that. All these companies that jump on the gay Pride bandwagon.
Just now.
In June, buy my little colored cookies and I got a colored latte and all the other BS they do. Show me what you do in the other months.
Oh, they're not.
It would be as if you just only advertised to African Americans in February, and then you didn't do it the rest of the year.
Great example, actually.
So, show us what else you're doing. And you and I also have a very definitive, you and I were both asked about what we thought about Pride, and we had done something for the Huffington Post years ago, which bubbled up again about picking one day for Pride, which we think should be the last Sunday in June. And
Make it a national holiday. Any community, celebrate whenever you want, but recognize that day because the visibility, and Tim and I look at this as a branding and marketing exercise, actually, not to be cold-hearted or anything other than maximize the message. Right. If everybody across the country celebrated that one day, it's national news, it's local news.
Pulls the resources, big impact. It has recognition. There's a million reasons why it makes sense.
More important now than ever. We need to be counted, we need to be recognized, and we need to be acknowledged as a part of the American fabric, right?
And the last Sunday in June is close to when the original Stonewall riots happened, and so there is a reason for that. So is that...
That's it. It was Glen Headly, and that's just more of me being a little selfish because I loved her acting. I loved her, and I'm sad to see she passed. And the other one was just a tweet misfire from...
From Abercrombie and
Fitch.
I thought when I picked this one that I have, I thought you would have seen. Actually, I thought you would have seen both of these. So the first one I picked was Trump.
I love this.
So the headline is "Pro-Trump yearbook photos were altered and quotes not accepted." So this is at a Wall Township High School in Asbury Park, New Jersey. So for the yearbook this year, there were two students, and there's a picture of them if you're watching the video feed. Two students that had Trump gear on for their class photos. And one of the kids, his shirt said, "Trump, make America great again." And the other one was a pullover fleece that just said Trump. And they got their pictures taken, their school pictures taken. They were both Trump supporters. The one kid's sister, Montana, her name was Montana Dobrovich Fago. She was the president of the freshman class. You got to put a quote in under your picture. And she picked a quote from Donald Trump that said, "I like thinking big. If you're going to be thinking anything, you might as well think big," by Donald Trump.
I really try.
Right. So, think big. Think really big.
Think positive.
So there was a quote that ended up from President Franklin Delano Roosevelt that made it into the book, but this one from Donald Trump didn't. So when the yearbooks came back, the kids noticed, if you see the next group of pictures, that they were airbrushed out. All the Trump information was airbrushed out of their pictures. And so the one kid mentioned it to his dad, and his dad got ballistic and said, "This is an issue of free speech.
Censorship.
This can be a teachable moment." The only rules they had about any dress code for the school pictures was nothing about drugs, nothing about X-rated, those sort of things. So the kids said, this memorializes a place and time that they had their Trump stuff on. Who cares? And so they did, in fact, find out that it was the yearbook advisor, the superintendent also got involved with the schools. And they ended up suspending the teacher, the yearbook advisor that did this. And the father now wants all the yearbooks to be reprinted with the original pictures. And so they're still investigating as to whether that's going to happen or not. But he said it's essentially a free speech issue and censorship. And
I think the article went further and said that had it said Obama, they actually doubt that they would have
Hillary
set out, or Hillary, or Reagan, or whatever.
So I agree. I mean, I'm not a Trump fan, but if the kid wanted to wear it, it would be like when you and I were growing up. If we wore a Reagan
shirt. Take it to a sports analogy. If someone had Pittsburgh Pirates or whatever, and if you don't
like the Pittsburgh Pirates, because
if the faculty advisor didn't like the Pirates, but they wanted another team, everybody with the Pirates, Steelers out.
Take it out.
Giants in, Steelers out.
So I thought that was kind of crazy. And then the other one's just a fun one from BuzzFeed.
I saw because I looked at the deck before I sent it to John, and I saw the pictures, and it took me a second. So go ahead.
Well, so the headline is, this mom made #1 cookies for her 1-year-old's birthday party, but they turned out a bit different. So it's JT and Jen, also from New Jersey. So they started planning their 11-month-old's birthday party last month. The party is this coming weekend on June 17th. So there's a family tradition of the kids every year you get a number. They invite all these people over and relatives, and it's the number of your age. So whether you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So they did a batch number 4 cookies.
So those are the cookie cutters, right?
So they used grandma's cookie cutters. She spent 8 hours in the kitchen. She did the number 4s for the other daughter's birthday, which came out fine. If you want to go close in on those, you can see.
So those are 4s.
So they're 4s. They came out beautifully, and she made 189 ones for her son's birthday. 30 or 40 people were coming. There were going to be bags and treats. Each person was going to get 4 cookies.
Bags and treats.
They were all frosted and ready to go when the husband, after Jen finished, her husband JT came in and walked in the kitchen and was like, "Oh my goodness." And so if you show the next picture, and if you go in close, particularly on the cookies on the left, he looked and all he saw was the male anatomy. Different. So some of them smudged and blurred. He said, "Honey, you can't give these out as treats for the birthday party."
I mean,
She said, "I don't care. They're #1s in my book. I use my grandmother's old cookie cutter, and I'm giving them out."
I'm giving them out.
You can see some of them do look. It does.
So here's the thing about this that I thought was great. It took me looking at your slides to figure, and the cookie cutter thing to figure out I reverse lot. To me, I thought she had made penis cookies until I realized it was the #1, and then the dough spreads. Then you put the frosting on, you get that whole.
Sure.
Where'd you find that?
It was in BuzzFeed. And then
BuzzFeed is almost as addictive clickbait.
Yeah. Well, and there were a couple of other things there on BuzzFeed too, which were quite good. But I thought I love when stuff like that happens, when people do the stupid cooking things, and so
random, funny, doesn't.
Yep. So let's do our business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
It was bound to happen. I don't even have notes for it. He's 71 today. What can I say about him?
Happen. What?
Donald Trump. Happy birthday, Donald John Trump.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
His birthday today. He's 71. So, as you know,
boy, I love some of that Photoshop
You went to the Warren School. Well, that's not Photoshop.
The bun is.
The bun is.
The bun is, but the hair doing a weird.
That was, he got caught in the wind at the game, and then the other one was when he was talking about what he was going to do to ISIS. On the far left, but supposedly he's the wealthiest man ever to
hold
office, and who knows? But he's apparently a businessman now. Some will debate, right, whether he has real estate holdings. He's successful, I suppose. But I laugh because you and I have been doing these business birthdays for 9 years,
and he's
never come up.
We've never, it's the randomness.
And so it's the randomness of the business birthday. But today it's his birthday, 71 years old, and Melania moved in the White House, so.
And by the way, another kind of slight caught your eyes. Their son Barron was getting off the helicopter, and I think he had a T-shirt on. I forget what it said.
The Expert
or something. Which it's apparently like selling like hotcakes.
They debunked it.
Oh, they did debunk that, really?
They debunked it, but
okay.
that was the thought. And then I was just reading something that they debunked it. But I think it was a J. Crew sweat T-shirt.
It was J. Crew. That's what it was.
But
Yeah.
I think
thought it was a
J.
riot.
Crew is liquidating everything now that Drexler and
Actually, I thought of Barron for a little bit. I thought, how old is he?
I don't know, 11-ish.
But to be a kid in the White House, right? And you're
The first boy since John.
Oh my God, since John Kennedy.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Just ignore everything for a second. He gets to fly Air Force One. He gets to fly the Marine One. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. If you're a kid, this is pretty cool.
What the Bush girls had told Sasha and Malia, the
they
Obama
say?
children, they said take full advantage of it. This is going to be something that a very rarefied group of people get to do. And if you can travel with your mom and dad and go to these
Cool
world
events
capitals
and
and
stuff,
cool places,
yeah.
do it. So, hey, one of our partners here in the focus group is Deep Discount. And they've been a terrific supporter of our show. And when I say that they've got thousands and thousands of things, it probably is an understatement because I think they have tens of thousands of things. If you go to focusgroupradio.com, throughout the whole month of June, they have a site-wide sale. So that's everything, whether it's the DVDs or the videos or the collectibles,
Turntables, mugs, books,
shirts, blah blah blah. So the best way to do it, though, so we can keep track, is if you go to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo, you can start surfing away and find some things that would interest you. There's also some additional coupons when you get to the homepage as well that you could use.
I didn't know that.
To save additional dollars. One thing that I picked this week was Serial Mom, which I love, and they
Kathleen Turner.
it just came out at the end of May. They've got a collector's edition. It's a John Waters film with Kathleen
Whoa,
Turner.
whoa! Is this Blu-ray collector's?
Yeah. And what I love about the collector's edition
I'm jotting this down
is it has it actually has feature commentary by John Waters and Kathleen Turner, which he did commentary on Mommy Dearest, which if you can get that copy as well as hilarious.
Mommy
John
Dearest
Waters
with John Waters
doing commentary.
Brilliant.
Right. So, and there's also other specials,
graphic, by the way.
like the original theatrical release and some of the other great surreal moments that happened in the movie. If you haven't watched it, this is one of those films where if you have people over, even just for the evening, put it on and just let it go because it is just so perfectly John Waters.
And your favorite
sick,
spot of the movie?
Where she doesn't like the fact that somebody wore white after Labor Day. She kills him.
That was in the courtroom, right?
Yeah, supposedly, and I should have looked this up, but supposedly this was really based on a story he saw in the National Enquirer about some woman who got fixated on serial killers and then ended up being a
serial killer.
So what did you
What
find?
a great pick. Thank you, Tim. I jotted down Serial Mom on Blu-ray because the thing about Blu-ray that I love is all the additional content, and a John Waters interview is always a good interview.
It's great.
So, continuing some of our Pride-themed movies that you may not have seen, I'm going to recommend A Single Man. It's Tom Ford's first movie, his directorial debut, and it stars Colin Firth, who plays George Falconer, a 52-year-old British college professor in the U.S., struggling to put his life back together after the death of his long-term partner. It's a beautifully shot film. It's a really great movie. Colin Firth does a superb job of portraying this gentleman. Highly recommend it.
Is Colin Firth that dark-haired Irish guy?
Colin Firth, you would clearly remember from, why am I spacing? Jennifer Lawrence played her before she lost the weight.
That's all right.
Bridget Jones's Diary.
Okay.
He played the guy that she ends up with at the end.
right.
But yeah, you've seen him in a lot. He's aged really well, by the way. Another movie I would recommend for Pride Month, incredible film with Ian McKellen. He plays director James Wales, who did Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, and it's the behind-the-scenes look at his later years in life, is Gods and Monsters.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen Gods and
No.
Monsters? Oh,
Bad.
it's a really good film. Gods and Monsters is a well done film, and Ian McKellen is fantastic. Lots of good cameos by a lot of actors and actresses in there. And then for Tim, really quick one, I found this on deep discount, and I was like, oh my God, I almost have to buy it. It's a Blu-ray called The Planet of the Apes Legacy Collection.
Oh, well, that's the only sci-fi I like, that and the Munsters.
John just looks up in the movie like, that's the only sci-fi
I didn't know it was
like.
science fiction till you told me.
Yeah, it is all sci-fi, and it's our favorite movies too. And I recently got to saw Planet of the Apes, all the films, minus the way they were edited for the 4:30 movie. We grew up watching them on da 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 da, and it was and they had to cut it down. So to see all these scenes, like I never saw that scene before. So that's what's going on there. And there's a release this week, right?
Yes, and I don't have my note in front of me. So
okay. So Guys in the booth, have you heard of the John Wick series?
I saw the first one, loved it.
You did?
Yeah.
So is he a professional hitman or something?
I know the story is someone kills his dog.
Got it.
And it's a whole revenge.
And that starts the whole thing. So
I think he is, because he's like so good at running and killing people with headshots and everything. Yeah.
Garrett, he's good at running and killing. And you got to run to kill, right?
Retired professional killer.
It's a retired professional killer. Okay. Well, John Wick Chapter 2 comes out on what's today? Tomorrow? Yesterday it came out, the 13th. So it's available now on Blu-ray and regular DVD at deep discount. Keanu Reeves, who I like a lot. And I'm now really curious about this because Garrett actually just echoed something that I've heard from a bunch of friends. I'm like, you didn't see John Wick? I'm like,
Yeah.
No. So unfortunately, our relationship with deep discount is costing us a ton.
We don't have enough time.
We don't have enough time. I got to spend more money to buy all these things that I recommend. So that rounds it up for us. We want to thank Deep Discount and Garrett.
Thanks, Deep Discount.
There you go. All right, it's the Focus Group. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to be welcoming Brook Altman from Prowdr.com to the show. While we get her set up, we have a little video from VW. It's about the Bonneville Salt Flat. It's a photographer who went out to capture a perfect National Geographic moment, so it's really pretty to look at. It's really pretty to look at, right?
You look at you.
And I think I did a new billboard for the Atlas, which is
You did?
Yeah,
That'd be nice to see.
It's a good color too. The car is like a gold color.
Oh, okay.
All right, so stay with us. We're going to be right back in a lickety split.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more.
There's nothing like Utah anywhere else in the world. You've got layers beneath the surface and above the surface, and sometimes an endless surface that just stretches as far as the eye can see. My name is Ramon Oster. I'm a climber, an artist, and a National Geographic photographer. I went on assignment for Volkswagen in the desert in Utah to showcase the new Golf Vol track. The idea was to get into some of these wild landscapes and come away with a single photo and share the landscape in a new and exciting way. Utah is really the ultimate testing ground for not only camera gear, but also your vehicle. I can safely say that I pushed the all-track pretty hard, and I could really feel the car just grip the road. In a landscape as stark as the salt flats, there's nothing around as far as the eye can see. And you have space to think, space to process things. If you're a photographer that's seen a lot of beautiful places, you can get jaded and lose your drive. But like going back to a place for me that's close to home, like the salt flats, and constantly trying to find new beauty is a good mental exercise. Shooting the salt flats for me is really about finding that perfect light. It's nearly impossible to find a new frame because it's been shot so much, but it's also a place that'll always be infinitely different and changing with the light. When you put a figure on that landscape, it just pops. And it's a really beautiful, simple composition that also combines a beautiful moment of reflection. There's always something that you can find in a particular landscape. You just have to remain curious.
Now, back to the Focus Group with Tim and John.
Glamour today is nothing but a tight skirt, loose hips, and wet lips.
An entertaining look at the world of business.
Make it work. Make it work. Make it work. Work.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, John Nash. We are the Focus Group. We're all business, except when we're not. And as promised, we have joining us today Brook Altman, who's CEO and founder of Prowdr, which is Prowdr, which
.com.
.com. Well, the Prowdr is, Prowdr is the brand name, and the tag is living inside out.
That's
right?
correct.
And it's an expert and personality-driven lifestyle brand, which is also LGBTQ inclusive. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we were talking before we came on air, and I think you have quite a pedigree.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah. Tim
so
said,
I was going to say, we've never done this before, but we talk about it a lot. So I was going to ask you if, and you're probably going to hate us for this, if I asked you for your elevator pitch for your bio, could you give us your elevator pitch?
Oh, wow. Mean like an elevator as in like a one-liner?
Or a couple lines.
Usually elevator was about 4 sentences to get to the 6th floor. Something like
Someone wanted to know who you were, Who's Brook Altman?
I'd say I'm a proud gay mom, first and foremost.
Wow, okay.
I've been in television for 25 plus years. I know I don't look that old. That was your cue. That was your moment. That was your moment.
I was trying to add up how old you would be.
fabulous.
Your
I was going to
cue.
say you're only 30, so you started young. You're on Romper Room at 5.
Right. And so, yeah, I've been in television for 25 years, and I've won a couple Emmys, and,
Won 4 Emmys.
4 Emmys,
Yeah, more than a couple.
Yeah,
You should
I
be
always think
proud of
couples
that.
like 2 or 3. 4 is 4. You gotta
For your work with you, had done some work with Martha Stewart.
Yes.
Which that could be a whole different show, but we want to talk about
That's a
Prowdr.
novel
Prowdr
in
today.
itself, yeah. Well, we can talk about Martha. I'm fine talking about Martha. There's plenty of fun stories.
On the Martha front, you both met her and you worked with her on a daily basis, right?
Yes.
Tim had an interesting experience with her right
Do
after
tell.
her prison term. She wanted to thank the advertisers.
we were one of the few brands. So 3 brands stayed with her after she was incarcerated. And I got a phone call from one of her assistants. I wish I could remember the person's name. I want to say it was Susan. But somebody had called me and said, Martha would like you to come to her house for dinner. And I said, not really interested. And she said, I said...
I know.
And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well...
busy.
No one turns Martha down for dinner.
Exactly.
Well, I worked at Subaru. I was director of marketing and advertising at Subaru, and we were one of only 3 brands that stayed with her while she was incarcerated.
Yeah.
So her assistant says, she wants to thank the 3 of you who stayed with her while she was, away, and it's just going to be 6 of you at dinner. I'll pick you up at 57th and Park at our driver. So I ended up going. It was quite a fun night, but. And had a great time at her house, and she and I drank a lot of Chardonnay.
Yeah.
And she did tell me, though, which was funny. So she was just starting her Sirius XM radio show, and John and I were just starting. So how do you break the ice with Martha Stewart? So I said...
Literally, you just...
Well,
I said, Martha, we have something in common. She goes, we do. I said, yeah. And all these people were all milling in the kitchen. And I said, I'm going to have a show on Sirius XM satellite radio, too. You are? She goes, everybody, I don't know if you know, but I've got a channel coming on Sirius XM radio.
Channel.
Right? She
Not
goes,
just a show.
and Tim's going to be doing a show on Saturdays. And then she says, when your show fails, that's what she said. She
Nice.
goes, I'm going to need a producer so you can come work for me. Well, when they canceled her channel and John and I were still on because we were across the hallway, I was so tempted to write a note saying, Martha, if you're looking for work, we're still here.
Yeah.
And we're still here, Martha.
And we do need a producer.
So that was my short, abridged version of Martha, but she was wonderful. We had a fun night.
All right, let's talk about Prowdr.
Great.
I visited the website. I think it's really cool. I looked at a lot of the tastemakers who are contributing to the site and to content. And I feel that you're attempting to do something that I think is going to impact a broad range of people in the LGBTQ community, not only on age, but on where they're at in life. And it feels to me like you're doing this at a time when inclusivity, acceptance, and a whole bunch of other things are at a different level than they might have been 25 years ago. So inspiration for the name and for the project.
The name is fun. So Prowdr is a mashup of proud and crowd. And the R's just amplifies all of that. So our goal really is just to get people to live life just a little bit better. Not 100%. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to change your life overnight. It's just a little bit better.
And the idea of curating all the content and how you present this, because you present a certain view of things. not bad, but like certain way to travel, certain way to, for cooking and dining and stuff. What's when you work with a tastemaker or a writer, what is some of the guidelines you give them for what Prowdr is actually looking for and what you think that you should be expressing?
First of all, it's inclusive. I like people to talk about, first I say to them, humor is most welcome. We're really scratching for humor. We're like, give me the humor. Give me the queer eye is something that we need everyone to understand, and that's a very hard thing to capture.
Right.
Right. Bravo did it beautifully, but we're trying to take the stereotyping out of it and just sort of hand it to people on a silver platter. But I'll get to that in a second. So there's that sort of queer eye, and then there's the humor, quick thinking, quick-witted bit. The inclusivity is really important, that people understand that everyone here is welcome. There's no judgments. We love you unconditionally. We're all here to play in the same sandbox. And that's pretty much, how I talk to our experts. And, expertise is such an interesting thing. You can't really be 22 and be an expert.
Are you sure?
Well,
by the way, we are in total agreement on this one.
This is kind of a challenge because everyone says, you got to talk to the millennials. Well, the millennials are a little bit older now, and it's sort of, you got to skew young. Well, no, we don't, because the truth is everyone really wants answers. Everyone wants solutions. They want, and there's 10 ways to fix your abs, and there's, 10 ways to get a better date, and, but we're more about the emotional intelligence piece of it.
EQ.
Yeah.
Isn't there also something to be said, though, on that thought where we know you're a lot younger than John and I, but there's a group of us that have never, ever, we didn't exist before. Mm-hmm. People weren't out as much. A lot of, particularly men, were affected by HIV/AIDS. So in trying to develop this brand, I think you do make a mistake if you're not talking to the aging LGBT population. I don't mean aging like elderly, but as we are going through into midlife.
Wisdom.
Right. Is that your target, you think? Or?
I don't know if it's our target. It's challenging because the community is so large, right? It's 25 million plus who identify domestic, like in America, but then there's 300 million global, and it's just such a big target, right? And everyone is so niche oriented. I just feel like the timing right now is about, hey, it's about changing the perception in the media, period, right? We've always been perceived as activism, politics, and hooking up, which is great. We need all that, and that's amazing. We need all that.
I love.
Right?
There's a processing, activism, hooking up.
Yeah, I mean we need all that, and that's great, and we're doing that really well. However, we are a lifestyle. Bottom line, we're not about like taking our shirts off and running around with rainbows. We really are a lifestyle. If you think about it, historically, we've always been the early adopters, forward thinkers, tastemakers in every vertical of lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. So rather than being shown in the media as these activists and that's all we are, we're actually way more than that. And no one's ever really looked at the community as the powerhouse behind every bit of lifestyle we touch every day.
You actually touched on something a moment ago. You said everybody wants to put everything into a niche, into a niche. Yeah. Has the broad, the design and the broad appeal of Prowdr made it difficult to sell on a marketing level? Because we run into this all the time. It's if I said, we have tons of different people listening, but who's the majority? People want to drill down to what's this number, what's the age bracket, because they're being driven by a whole industry that's looking for very specific things to plug into. This is a very broad-based.
You're speaking about advertisers specifically.
Yeah.
And media companies I want the 54-year-old.
I want this, I want that.
True. It's challenging, right? So right now we just launched 5.5 months ago, so we are in the MVP stage. Right, so data doesn't lie. And so we're listening, we're looking at our data and we're going, oh, it's interesting, we're skewing older for some, well, the reason is because we're writing for a little bit older community right now. However, the national advertisers really don't have a lifestyle target overall to speak to, a place to speak to this community. I mean, Al calls themselves lifestyle, and I can see why. And
Well, that's men's fashion, right? Out magazine.
yeah,
Is that what you would-
and Advocate too kind of calls himself lifestyle, but the truth is, the thing that makes us different is that we are expert and personality driven, right? So, and that's my expertise, is experts and personalities. So that's like the one place where I think advertisers will find us a very sort of friendly place, regardless of the demographics. So it'll be interesting to find out. I mean, I haven't, right now it's all about building audience versus going after advertisers. So we'll see. I don't know the answer to that yet.
And you'll find that when you referenced Out and Advocate, the powerhouse titles in the gay community, in the LGBT community, what a lot of people don't know is what they're actually selling is data.
Yes.
Behind closed doors, they're talking about the number of website visits, the unique this, the unique that. No matter that the actual print publications have not changed, Tim, I think in a decade or two, the numbers are almost
120,000.
amber, like they're frozen in amber. But they are almost a machine that is existing to generate the data to get the sales, whether or not like any one of us three people actually access that site or content. And I could say I actually don't. I get news from a ton of places, but rarely from there. And that's why I think Prowdr is kind of fascinating, because as a lifestyle brand, the minute I went there, I saw at least 3 or 4 articles that I could dig into, and I thought that was a fascinating thing. And if you had to compare the site to a TV show or a magazine, what show do you think it would be?
Well, yeah, I tend to.
Or if it's you know how then they pitch in Hollywood, it's this and this.
I have my
This
thought.
meets that.
Yeah,
Well-
because you're TV. So
Yeah.
how would you actually?
It's interesting. I can't really compare it to anything, but what I can compare it to a business model, right? So with Martha, for example, we had an opportunity, which was to develop other talent along with Martha and create. I mean, there was no Food Network, no HGTV, no Fine Living, none of that when we launched, and it still remained all about Martha, right? Even though we were celebrating all these experts and all this, right? And then Oprah did the right thing, right? So she started thinking about all these experts. She was bringing up Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, right? So I
exactly.
thought, well,
The
joint
Nate
ventures.
guy, the
Nate Berkus.
Nate
Nate
Berkus,
Berkus,
yeah.
exactly. So that is kind of the model. I'm following Oprah's, the essence of the feel better genre of
So you could capture all these
self-empowerment
personalities and people, and then maybe they spin off, maybe they don't.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
would you-
finding those diamonds in the rough, those gems that you can build a 360 out of and actually take it to the next level. And they're hard to find. These are not easy things to do, right? So which is,
So with your
otherwise-
background in TV, then, do you envision this going well beyond digital? I mean, would you do your own network, Prowdr Network,
a channel.
a channel?
That's the
Yeah.
goal. Yeah.
I mean, that would be.
Video that's our next.
Because I'll tell you what I felt like. So when I went to your site,
Now you're gonna get it.
No.
I'll tell you what I felt like.
No, I went there, and to me, immediately what hit me was Williams-Sonoma.
Oh, it felt super. Yes,
It
exactly.
was very clean. It had
Aesthetically,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's immediately what I thought of. I said, okay, Williams-Sonoma, and I could see where it could go beyond doing
Premium was the
something.
word
Yeah,
that crossed
premium
my mind.
luxury,
Very premium brand.
but accessible.
Affordable luxury.
Accessible, right, and accessible. No, affordable and accessible. It's like Cadillac.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Affordable luxury. But so that is, and I wondered about how are you going about? You talked about these experts, but how are you finding people? Are you just is it
It's
based upon word of
interesting.
mouth, or are you just digging around?
It's a combination of word of mouth, and also I've been in the industry for so long, and I've had friends that I've reached out to and just kind of been like, oh, I remember that guy, or I remember that, or like it's kind of been a little bit like that. And who's the next? I don't care if you're a fromagier, like I'll drill down that small, but then I kind of really want people who are on the fringe and doing things outside the box. Like we have this expert, Jeff the 420 chef, gay dad, came out 5 years ago, fascinating history, but is the absolute best in his industry.
What's his industry?
420. Weed.
Right.
Right?
No,
But
that's what.
he's already written a book, was published in Simon & Schuster. They're calling him the Julia Child of weed.
Was he baking with weed?
Everything. No, his book's phenomenal.
Medicinal and the whole deal.
Yeah, I mean, he's traveled the world, met with all the gurus to really get to the bottom of how do I get the taste out of it? How do I understand the measurements? And how do I really do this right?
Like
so
creating
that,
almost a science to it, because
Exactly.
a lot of
It's a
it's
science.
yeah.
Is he
Right.
in Colorado?
No, he's in L.A.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, he's a gay dad, and he just fits the model, and he is really comfortable on camera. There's a couple prerequisites, right? There's some people that I've tested, and they look the part, adorable. They're multicultural. They're gay. They're an expert at blah blah blah, and they just can't. It's they can't deliver on camera, and that's. If I had time to train everybody, then yeah, but I don't. And
It's
so
a hard
right now,
one. It's a hard one.
yeah. So right now I'm just kind of focusing on people who've had some TV experience, whether they've been on Top Chef or Biggest Loser, or there's a couple of folks like that, and just slowly putting some pieces together and testing the market. That's kind of how it's been going.
So where do you get your funding from?
Good question. We have mostly. We're not funded yet.
Right. Okay.
We just got our first investor, which is very exciting.
Who is Oprah?
I wish.
No, Martha.
That was Martha.
Oh, God, I know. Well, actually, they'd both be great investors. But, really, right, we just kind of put some money together, a couple of friends and family, just to do like a small, tiny round, just to get it off the ground and start
Proof of
testing.
concept
Yeah,
sort of thing.
A little bit, yeah. And we have our first boutique VC angels coming on board, which is really exciting. So they're going to lead the round and open to co-leading, and so we're working on our first term sheet, and that's really exciting.
Wow, it's a very exciting thing. I think it's a cool site,
Yeah.
and I'm curious to see how it evolves and develops. Me and Tim have had a 25-year background in marketing and advertising. Tim is a director of marketing and advertising. I own 2 agencies, and my agency specialized in LGBT marketing. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting a number of people who used to come to me prior to launching a project, wondering if the clients we represented would be interested in sponsoring. And years ago, an author came to me with a magazine idea that was not Prowdr, but it was a lifestyle magazine. It was going to focus on family, but we're talking
Late 90s?
early 2000s, and it was at that tipping point where talking about gay family and gay adoption and all
Timing wasn't right.
Well, that was happening, but it really wasn't in the mainstream consciousness, or it wasn't even that well known of how people adopted, or if it was going to be a surrogacy or whatever. So he had a whole section on that. He had cooking and lifestyle and literature, and he did a really great job of comping up the magazine. And one day he invited me to sit in on a meeting where he had his editors there, and they showed all the comps, and I listened intently, and then he said to me at the end of the meeting, he goes, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "I have 2, and if you can't answer either one of them, not to be rude, but if you can't, I can guarantee you're not going to get an advertiser to go on the book." So I asked the 2 questions, didn't get an answer. The project ended up being shelved about a month later. So right time, right place. And when I looked at Prowdr, I was like, this is brilliant, because now you're eliminating print, printing, distribution, mailing. I mean, that was a whole nother side of that. If you had started this as a magazine, oh my God. So now you could accessibility, tablet, desktop, whatever it is. And then I thought, as Tim was asking, I was looking at this, I thought that this is going to end up being a video. There's going to be a component here where I can get a 10-second clip or a half-hour interview. I could choose long form. And on that score, when you're looking at editorial, are you thinking in terms of engagement time? You know what I'm talking about?
In terms of what we're doing now?
Well, in terms of someone does a long form article, I wonder if your data is showing when someone drops out.
Well, here's what's astounding. So, and I use the word astounding because he used the word astounding. So I'm like, I would never have used that word astounding, right, in 5.5 months. So I have an advisor coming on board. I hope. I'm not going to use his name because if he was already on board, I would use his name. But anyway, he met with me the other day and spent an hour with me and completely blew my mind because data is not my expertise. And this is his expertise. And so he said to me, "This is astounding." And I said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Well, he just left another brand and he said, we have 600,000 viewers and people aren't even lasting a minute on the site. People are here for 3.5 minutes." And he said, "That's astounding." And I said, "People are reading." And I said, "Really? I didn't think people were reading it anymore." And that's the whole point of going to video. He said, "No, but people are reading. And your bounce rate is 47%. He said, "People are at 80% where I was before." And he said, 47% is amazing.
Dude, do you know what bounce rate is?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, keep telling me more.
So you're doing something right.
I get, yeah.
What we found with ours, what we were surprised about with our show is the length that when people will drop out and watching or, something happens, it's like you turn the channel.
Right.
But we were at 22 minutes.
22 minutes.
Average 22 minutes, which
That's great.
in this medium with YouTube, I think if you're on 90 seconds,
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Right.
So, no, that's important. And it's important to have the right content to the right people, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're saying about, we have 600,000 people, but most of them are, they don't last for 30 seconds. Well, that's like wasting your money on a Super Bowl ad, right? I reached 150 million people.
This was such a niche thing, which was fascinating because I think it was such a niche thing. So you had to really know and love what that thing is
Right.
to be there. So they had 600,000 very niche-y people who really love that thing. So why aren't they hanging out?
I don't know. I think the astounding is a good word, but I also think it touches on this notion that when we see ourselves reflected accurately,
Yeah.
and Prowdr does that in a beautiful way because
Yeah,
we're
that was
not
my big goal too. That was
Tim and I often we often say we're not exclusively. I mean, I'm gay. That does not define my 9 to 5 experience or my bell to bell. What do you?
No, I was laughing. You go to the site and there's a unicorn and a rainbow, a little heart, dog tags.
But that was our whole thing and that's how we started our show was the idea that it's not all pop culture. It's not all reality TV. Some people love discussing career and business and all the stuff we do.
Yeah, you don't do gay business and you don't eat gay soup.
No, and I don't
Or buy
brush
gay
my
throw
teeth
pillows.
with gay
I mean,
toothpaste and gay toilet paper. I mean, it's so
gay cars.
That's why I think that you're
Maybe gay cars.
Subaru.
Yeah, well, we did
No,
that.
hey,
That's
look,
our fault.
we'll proudly say
that was our fault.
That the lesbian consumer loved that brand, trusted that brand, right?
Yep.
But gay men like the VWs. That's what we're doing now. But no, Prowdr I think is a nice reflection, and that might account for that engagement, that time that someone spends there because they see themselves in it.
Right. It's a true reflection versus what it was 20 years ago, which was what it needed to be, which was we're out there fighting.
Well said. Well said. What it needed to be.
What it needed to be.
So is this the right time, right place for you
Yes.
to do this?
Absolutely, 100%.
So before this, what was what would you say was your favorite or your most rewarding career success?
My daughter.
Well, that's a job.
She's 10 now.
Did she come with a manual? Like I always laugh with my
There is
sister
no
when my
manual.
nieces were born. Like my sister just called me. We were laughing about a memory from days gone by. She called me one day when my niece what's the terrible twos? That's when
Yeah,
they start pushing the envelope.
She did that in threes.
So Laura calls me from the basement of her house, and she's whispering. She goes, "I have to talk to somebody." And I'm like, "What's?" She goes, "I had to spank Emma today." And Laura's world, spanking is hitting her once on the rump. Now, I grew up with a father who had you choose the belt, the hand, or the yardstick. So
Oh my God.
it wasn't. I'm fine. It wasn't.
Pick one.
Right.
I always pick the hand.
I had to pick the flavor soap I wanted my mouth washed out with. I like the Lemon Joy. That's what I would go with. When Lemon Joy came out, that was a godsend.
All right,
You can go with the Irish Spring.
So clearly we're children of the 60s, right? Our parents, this is the way you...
Right.
So my sister had this thing. Their house is by a road, and every day they'd go out and play. And Emma would always be told not to go to the road. What do? She goes right to the road.
Yeah.
So she gets closer and closer, and Laura's like, if you step onto that road, there are consequences. She steps onto the road. No one's around. Then Laura whisks her in. She spanked her. She cries. Laura comes down. She's, oh my God.
Cried.
Yeah, Laura was crying on the phone.
Yeah.
I said, Laura, why are you so worried about this? I vowed that we would never do this. You know, you and I were spanked. I said, Laura, let's calm down here. I said, we were spanked for super bad things. I said, nothing else. I said, and we didn't go, we weren't in pain. We went to our rooms. We came out later. We're all good. Yeah, she said, well, you know, and so we ended up talking about raising kids, and oh my God, they are individuals the minute they're born, and whatever you think.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I was blessed. I mean, I was blessed with a Libra. She was born on my birthday. I know her so well, so I've been...
Libra, when's your birthday?
October 2nd.
September 30.
The Libra husband.
And my sister Laura is September 27, Libra as well.
I'm Aries, which
So
get along with
easy.
Libras.
You guys
get along
get
famously.
with us, yeah. Not always. But
Yeah, no, it's good. The little good chemistry you guys have.
So what grade would she be in now?
She is just moving up to 6th.
Sixth
sixth.
grade.
I'm like, why am
What
I
did we
wrong?
learn in 6th grade?
Geography.
Was it geography?
My 6th grade teacher was absent. Sex ed
I
now.
don't think we got sex ed.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Sex ed for
You
you?
don't do it anymore, but my 6th grade teacher, and you were we were in the same school system, but
Different towns.
But I remember this, and I guess it would never fly now. He just left us alone.
We all did. Yes, we got the same
And
thing.
you got to do whatever you wanted to do. And he would come in
Free
toward the
time.
end of the day.
In sex ed?
No, just
no,
a
just
regular
in
school.
Oh, your teacher did that?
Yep. He'd leave, he'd go for 3-4 hours and come back, and we had to get up and talk about what we did. And some kids might have made something with crafts. Some kids put a play together. You can never do that now.
Wow, that's
It's Connecticut.
By the way, we had the
Connecticut,
same. We had a
and lots
teacher.
of, you know,
so hippie group.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that
It's like
was.
my college.
Where'd you go to school?
Great. Hampshire?
Sure. Oh, up in
Beautiful school.
Amherst, yeah.
No, we had a teacher that did that too, but we had specific things. So if they left the room, we had to present what we did in their absence, and it was either a diorama. We had to do book report diorama. Remember the shoebox diorama?
Yeah, those were great. I love that.
Someone made a popsicle stick box.
Yeah.
They had to talk about the box, right? Like, here's what I did. I drew the plan and did the box.
To this day, though, 7th grade we were sent. You had to go to a map and pick out. Mr. Moodry did this.
Oh, John
And
Moodry.
you would be petrified if you went to the map and didn't know where Myanmar was or Burma or something. So to this day, I'm great with geography still.
And that was the time when John Moodry was your teacher. He taught me.
You guys went to school together?
Same
Yeah.
school district. We met up in high school, and we've been friends ever since. But Tim grew up in Southbury. I grew up in a town called Middlebury, and the teachers moved back and forth. So I had John Moodry, and my mom was a teacher. And one day John Moodry corners my mom. He says, "Your son cannot spell," and he said, "It's going to be real problems down the road, Carol." And she goes, well, if John wants to spell, he'll spell. If he doesn't, he only does what he wants to do. He goes, well, this is different. You got to get him to spell. and see, nowadays, if a teacher, I don't know how the whole relationship works, but my mom took him seriously. She's a teacher herself. I had to get this little disc thing, and it was like a ViewMaster. I'd push something and a word would pop up, and I had to spell it. I had to write it down, and oh my God. Now I'm a great speller. I'm a superb speller.
We met in
Anyone can
biology.
spell now with the spell check and everything.
We
Nobody
met in
can spell
biology
anymore.
class, so frog dissection. So.
All right, so give us all the Prowdr, Prowdr.com is the destination to visit. We've been talking to Brook Altman, who is the founder of Prowdr.com. I urge you to check out the site. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of, you're lucky today. Is there one for the daughter?
This is one of our brands. Yes, I thought you were going to bring your daughter. So we got you a pair of our famous focus group radio socks. I love that. Which we've...
Can I give one to my fiance and one to my daughter?
Yes,
Sure.
you can.
And we'll send you another one if you give us your address. We'll send it to
Wow, it's
Prowdr.
like squeezing it out of you.
Yeah, I know. There's such reluctance.
Mr. Marketing.
Don't copy our idea, by the way.
Marketing, I'm squeezing it out of you.
Our idea,
We'll be monitoring the
These, I
site.
tell you, these things, these socks.
famous.
Everybody loves those socks.
Purple this year, yeah.
All right, Prowdr, Prowdr.com. Brooke Altman's been our guest. I want to thank you, Brooke. It's been a pleasure to see you and to meet with you. Visit the site. I think you're going to really like all the editorial content there, especially a lot of the tastemakers. I clicked through all the guys, and I was like, oh, I like that.
I know
More
you
coming.
did.
And then I would read, like, he's married to his husband. I'm like, well, so am I, but I can drink. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. And when we return, Tim has a shop talk on the changing colors of the pride flag. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Really?
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Been in business a week. I got more money and I know what to do with.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
Herrera Rocher. He is doing well.
By the way, the set that we bought, the collection we bought, does not have every single episode.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. It's Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, John Nash. We're all business, except when we're not.
We were not. A minute ago, we were talking Lucy.
We're talking Lucy, and before then, we had Brook Altman on from Prowdr, and we were talking about school days and the crazy school days.
By the way, I just want to let you know that your analogy for Prowdr was really spot on.
Williams-Sonoma?
It had that really nicely done, tasteful feel.
Very neat and
clean. You could very accessible and clean.
Yeah.
That's why we're branding and marketing guys, because we could distill that stuff down
right away. Figure out what it's about. So, if you followed on Facebook this week, if you go to our Facebook page, which is Focus Group Radio. We have two Facebook pages. One is The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash, and one is Focus Group Radio.
And everybody refuses to move from the one to the other.
People refuse to move, and we have different audiences in each one, but I try to post the content on both. But Philadelphia this past week, in honor of Gay Pride, decided that the Philadelphia Human Rights Commission and the LGBT advocacy group. It's the LGBT Affairs in the city of Philadelphia. The director, Amber Hikes, is the person's name. They had a big unveiling of a new pride flag that they want everybody to accept, not only in Philadelphia but across the world. And it's been met with some consternation, I guess, for lack of a better word. But everyone knows what the original flag was. The original flag was done by Gilbert Baker in 1978 in San Francisco, and originally had 8 colors. And he had actually dyed the material at a laundromat in San Francisco, put the flag together, and then when he went to go get it mass produced, they found out that the color pink, which is on the top if you're watching on the video, and I might say around cyan, the blue, cyan blue, were not very prevalent. They couldn't find them. So he put the flag after a year, in terms of easier manufacturing, went down to 6 colors. And then if you go to the next slide, which has what the flag has been forever, and what each of the colors represented. And so as you can see, the flag has nothing to do with race. It really has to do about...
these are totally life, healing, sunlight, nature, serenity, spirit.
Right, so they said red was life, people have a right to life. Orange was healing, people have a right to be broken and seek healing. Yellow was sunlight, a symbol of being out and open in the daylight, a symbol of truth. Green was nature. Mm-hmm. Gay people are natural, not abnormal or unnatural. Blue was harmony and peace. We deserve to live in harmony and peace with all our neighbors. And purple was spirituality, that God does not hate us. So that was what the intent of the flag was. Well, Philadelphia's decided, and the feedback, as I said, has not been good by about 80%, but they decided to add black and brown to the top of the flag because they feel that people of color have been marginalized within the LGBT community, and this will represent all the brown and black brothers and sisters who have been not part of the LGBTQ movement. And so what do you feel about Philadelphia making the flag about race?
We talked at lunch, and by the way, I'm glad you had that panel put in where each color represented an aspect of an individual, and race was really not part of it.
No, never was.
And I think that when we look at symbols evolve and change over time, right?
Yep.
And but I think it's important to understand the origin of a symbol and its intent. So the origin was all these, they're very affirming qualities, right? He just assigned an affirming quality to a color.
It's about being inclusive and included everybody, regardless of race. It was about sexual orientation.
And I think that Gilbert Baker himself has often said that it had nothing to do with whether you're white, you're black, you're whatever you're, wherever you come from, the flag just represented these things. So it's interesting when in 2017, when a city's LGBTQ commission and or Office of LGBT Affairs decides to reinterpret a symbol and not just reinterpret it, but literally say, we are going to do this because we feel X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So that when you mentioned the 80% of people are not in favor of this.
Well, that was anecdotal in all the comment section. Most people said...
Oh, I love the comments you forwarded to me.
Yeah, the comments were essentially said...
Some are smart.
Come on. And even people of color said, you know, now you're talking about tokenism. If you're going to do this, where's the white stripe? Where's the gray stripe? What people are purple? If I'm going to call Asian people yellow, that's racist too. Yeah. So they went through this whole deal of... One of the bottom lines, somebody said, you know, one of the issues they've found, particularly with millennials or what they're calling the younger gay LGBT community, is that they have kind of gone label crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And they said that the fact that they said when you start adding so many labels to be unique, you end up being nothing.
Yeah.
Because you've got so many labels. And you and I were talking about this. It's LGBTQI plus. What happened to gay?
It's gay.
So, well, but you know, you and I are old school that way. But so a lot of the comments where someone said, one of the comments was the gay pride flag is not the space to make a political statement. They said, this is ridiculous. I understand the point, but the execution is not done well. The flag was never about race. And if this was not the way to go about changing the flag, if in fact you wanted to update it. But then someone on the other side said, you know, gay history has always been about white cisgender males, and you know, this is a good step forward to address our marginalized people in the community. And then somebody came back and said, well, what about people with disabilities?
Yeah.
What about people that are elders? Why don't you put the pride ribbon on the flag?
And here's one for you. And you and I, if we were sitting in a meeting wearing our director of marketing and creative director hat, just think about this from a research point of view. Do you even understand it?
Right.
So go 300 miles outside of Philadelphia, present the flag. Oh, it's a rainbow flag.
Yeah.
If you're going to add the stripes, make sure everybody understands what they're there for. It reminds me,
it's black and brown
aren't part
of the
really
rainbow.
Stupid analogy. Imagine getting a bunch of pirates in a room and saying, we're going to focus group the Jolly Roger. We want to change the skull and crossbones to a bag of gold or a treasure chest. No. I like killing people. I want the skull. You know, could you imagine? I mean, I'm being an ass about this.
You're not.
But let's just be real. It's a flag. You know, everybody knows the Jolly Roger was pirates, right?
Well, the rainbow was about hope. It was about rebirth, dawning.
It wasn't about race.
Yeah.
It wasn't about culture. It was all about life-affirming qualities.
And what it reminded me of, and the group in Philadelphia is pretty emphatic about wanting to, you know, make this movement with adding the stripes of the flag, but it reminded me so much of what you and I ran into in our years of advertising.
I didn't want to bring it up.
To the LGBT community, and you and I would try our hardest. If we showed an interracial couple, we were in trouble.
On it, yeah.
If we just showed women, we got in trouble. We showed men, they weren't beefy enough. They were beefy, they weren't skinny enough. They were, where are the bears? Where's the person in the wheelchair? And then you and I just said, you know what, that's it. No more people. We took all people out of the ads because you could not satisfy the gay community.
All right. So when we did our TV first ever LGBT ads for Subaru for logos launch, we had people in them.
Yep.
And I remember going out to Colorado to, I believe it might have been the Out and Equal convention, to present the ads.
Right.
And I was there with a logo executive, great guy named Tom. The ads are shown. People stand up, they're cheering, they loved it. And basically the ad,
very first TV,
LGBT,
right.
They used color, much like the flag does, to kind of give you that sense of pride in the gay community. A couple questions were fielded about smart questions. Did management, were they on board? You know, did they see the ads progress? Are they proud of these ads? And then a woman in the back of the room stood up and she got the microphone and she said, I don't see transgendered people in these ads. Now, I was ready to answer a range of questions. I was media trained for that, but I wasn't ready for that one. And so Tom from Logo takes the microphone. He goes, how do you know they're not trans? Right. I don't mean to be knocking anybody, but he just was like, how do you know? He said, and then he said to me privately, he goes, you know, you can never please everybody. He said, and that was one of the last times we showed people in ads, actually, on TV. And then it was all the car and background.
Right, because we just could not. It was the one community that was very difficult, and it happens with TV in general with brands. We would get in trouble. You showed.
Yeah, that's true.
You showed snakes. A snake lobby got upset. Why do you show all the bad people as being overweight? There was always something people would go after, but the LGBT community was the worst, and I'll say that they were the toughest with saying you're not portraying us properly. And our conversation earlier with Brooke, how do I portray the full gamut and spectrum of people that are LGBT? Because you're talking about different races and sizes and religions and nationalities, all kinds of stuff.
It's a whole tons of stuff.
So it's tough to do. And, rather than being thankful that somebody's recognized by doing a same-sex ad, we ended up just not doing it anymore.
Now, you just said something that reminds me of something about that Colorado presentation that I gave. Privately, there was a bunch of people from different companies, brands that were going to be sponsoring Logo's launch. And one executive said to me, he goes, how many thank you letters does Subaru get for their efforts in this community? And I was like...
In 15 years?
It was
Did I tell you?
It was like single digits.
Less than 10.
Less than 10.
You know how many hate letters we got?
Hundreds, thousands. Yeah, so...
20, 30,000 hate letters, and I think 8 or 9. I've saved them all.
Now, he asked me that for a reason, and the reason was senior management at his company, and he was the internal LGBT champion. He was gay himself, very proud of that company's efforts. But he said that, I walk into meetings every day where I'm presented with stacks of email and letters. He said, and I have nothing to counterweight it with. He said, and what we just experienced when you're presenting creative that everybody should be excited about, he said, is one of those weird things that makes me scratch my head and say, why are we doing this?
That's why we have President Trump. So I think we agree, John, that the pride flag should be 6 colors and remain that way.
Leave it alone. It's been working for years.
Well, it's not about race.
And
get off the race issue. It's not about race.
And it's been working for years, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that article, Tim, and thank you to the City of Brotherly Love for providing...
I'm a Philadelphian. I'm disgusted with it, to be honest with you.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in today. A big thank you to Deep Discount, our partner here on the Focus Group. We outlined some great movies for you to check out. John Wick is a new release. And thanks, Tim, for Serial Mom. Now I'm obsessed with getting the Blu-ray of Serial Mom.
We should have done some clips. Is this 9-9? Yeah.
We have plenty of other shows to do clips for, and in fact, that would make a great imaging.
Yeah.
All right, now the wheels are turning. And a big thanks to Volkswagen America, a partner of ours here for almost 8 years. Tim and I are now currently driving the All-Track, a golf wagon with all-wheel drive. Some of our billboards this show showcase the new Atlas, which is a 7-seater car?
7-pad, big boy
car. It's a big car. If you go to a dealership, check it out. Beautiful colors. I think it's a great-looking car, actually. Very stylish, very American for the interior, etc. So a big thanks to everybody. Stay safe. Don't text and drive, as Tim says. You don't text and drive. And tune in next week. Have a good one.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Formerly on SiriusXM Satellite Radio and now accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.